Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
Hello and welcome to this episode of A Satellite View. I'm Todd Mikkelson speaking at you from Sunday, January 26th, 2025 in the space and time continuum. Donald Trump has only been president for not even a week. It seems like a lot longer than that. And all the people who said, oh, he's not really going to do that. He's not really going to do that. He's not really going to do that are learning. He's going to do all of it. All of it. He's been doing all of it. I have no idea where to begin. At some point, we're going to start talking about two different stories about the election. But first, I'm trying to decide in my head, so that's why I sound a little not with it here. That and I did a whole lot. No, I didn't do any drugs or drinking before this. But I feel a little thrown off, like I think everybody does. It seems to have kind of sent the world a little. You know how it usually spins like this? It's a little wobbly. But if you're listening to the mainstream media, you're a lot more scared than you need to be. Now, sadly, there are some people who are very legitimately scared. I'm an older white guy, so maybe I don't have anything to worry about in all of this. It might hurt my business. It might hurt the supply chain. It might hurt the economy. But I'm not going to be arrested and put on an airplane and sent to another country that I've never been to before because I was born in America and have lived here my whole life. Or maybe not born here, but lived here my whole life. He did try and pass an executive order getting rid of the natural-born citizen part of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. Of course, he's too dumb to realize that he can't do that. He may be too dumb to realize he signed it. He has signed a whole bunch, I don't even know how many executive orders, and they're just being handed to him. And he's just sitting. I saw a video of him sitting at a desk. Somebody hands him something to sign. He goes, oh, what's this one? And it's like, that's the one that separates the United States from the World Health Organization. And he just goes, ooh, that's a good one. So he doesn't even know what he's doing. He doesn't care what he's doing. He would rather not be there. He would rather be in Mar-a-Lago. He hates the White House. He hates Washington, D.C. He hates having to do anything that he doesn't want to do. Hopefully he'll get his wish where he will be ordered to stay only in Mar-a-Lago. Okay, I'm going to try and go through some things that maybe you haven't heard. For instance, the ATF and the FBI are in Los Angeles running investigations. Gavin Newsom has ordered investigations on what happened in California. There have been people arrested for arson. I'm not saying that's what happened, but the mainstream media is not talking about these things, and they are true. Somebody tracked, 2 weeks ago now, they were watching NATO air flights. If you go back to my last couple of shows, you can hear that Russia is messing with NATO. NATO's getting pissed. Now, that's tapered off a little bit, but NATO, it takes a little bit of time to get organized and put something together if you're going to do something as NATO. And 2 weeks ago, they were having a lot of meetings. Flights were tracked to Washington, D.C., but the mainstream media didn't talk about that. Also, flights, a NATO flight, I should say, not flights, a NATO airplane flew to Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago today, on Sunday. On either Saturday or that previous Friday, a NATO flight went to Los Angeles. That was 3 days into the Los Angeles fires. I'm not trying to talk about any kind of conspiracy theory or anything like that, but Gavin Newsom is ordering investigations. People lied about a water reservoir in the Pacific Palisades. It's very confusing at this point because nobody's reporting on it. No journalists for NBC, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, anybody is seeming to pay any attention to that. All right. What else? Oh, Trump had some interview with somebody. I saw a picture of it, and you can clearly see his right ear, and there is absolutely zero evidence of any type of even slight injury on his right ear. You can clearly see it. So who knows what happened to that? Ironically, he was talking about how God saved him so that he could be president. Maybe you have heard of this. Maybe you haven't. A guy named Loudermilk. He's a Republican representative. He made a big stink about, hey, I'm going to be the one who gets to use part of Donald Trump's anatomy as a popsicle next. I'm going to be the one who busts Liz Cheney. He was going to bring Liz Cheney in. He was going to subpoena her. He was going to start this investigation. He was going to bust her. He was going to throw her in jail. Then he was told to stop by the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. I'm doing a little bit of facial expression here. If you're only listening to this, we are filming it now and putting it up on YouTube and things like that.
Once you get above a certain level of wealth, you get no incremental happiness.
If you're hearing me pause,
so why on earth would you not go back to a tax policy of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, where say above, pick a big number, 10 million, you actually pay more than 10%, maybe more than 20%, maybe more than 50%, because the difference between 30,000 a year for a household and 50,000 is enormous to the well-being of that household. Low-income kids in low-income households have higher resting blood pressure. But the difference between making $10 million a year and $15 million a year offers you no happiness. But these individuals have weaponized government, and we risk revolution, whether it's CEOs being murdered in the street, whether it's a Me Too movement that had righteous components of it, or Black Lives Matter. What are these movements? They are targeting the wealthy. We are in the midst of a series of small revolutions to correct income inequality. And the reason we put an insurrectionist and a rapist in office is because for the first time in our nation's history, a 30-year-old man or woman isn't doing as well as his or her parents were at 30. Why? Because the majority of households are having the oxygen sucked out of the room such that a small number of individuals and a small number of companies can be worth more than nation states. Income inequality is out of control. Our tax policy has gone full oligarch.
She was they're now calling her like the close assistant of the chief of staff to Donald Trump, Mark Meadows. So she had a desk right outside of Mark Meadows' office, which is just feet away from the Oval Office. She kind of heard where all the bodies are buried, really. She was subpoenaed by the January 6th committee back in the spring and summer of 2022. Trump provided her a lawyer, but this lawyer did not tell her that Trump was paying him. And he told her to commit perjury. She decided that would be a bad idea. She didn't know what to do. She's a Republican, and all the committee's made up of all Democrats except Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. So she, through a liaison, had somebody contact Liz Cheney. And Liz Cheney basically said to Cassidy Hutchinson, I really shouldn't be talking to you until you get an attorney that represents you. Because she told Liz Cheney her story about this other lawyer that Trump was paying. So she did get an attorney that represents her. Now, that Liz Cheney telling her to get an attorney is basically what the Republicans are trying to say was witness tampering by Liz Cheney. Now, you and I, discerning to ourselves at this moment, that sure does not sound like witness tampering. That sounds like somebody asked her a question and she said, you should get a lawyer. So she did, and then Cassidy Hutchinson turned over a lot of texts through Liz Cheney, then to the January 6th committee. A lot of these texts were used in those trials that you might have watched on TV. There were a lot of texts apparently that were withheld, not by Cassidy Hutchinson, but they just simply weren't reported on by the J6 committee because these texts weren't relevant to January 6th and the crimes of January 6th. Cassidy Hutchinson was an intern for both Steve Scalise and Ted Cruz. Steve Scalise is basically second in command of the House under Mike Johnson. Ted Cruz is notoriously gross and disgusting senator from Texas. Somebody from Liz Cheney contacted somebody from Mike Johnson and said, hey, you might want to be careful because some of the texts that Cassidy Hutchinson has, that now Liz Cheney has, aren't just texts, but in fact they are sects. S-E-X. I don't know how to spell it. Sexual texts. We used to call them sects, I think. I can't remember the history of that word, but I don't know, possibly photographs, dirty talk. I don't know. I mean, can you picture Steve Scalise and Ted Cruz being lonely and like, hey, she's cute. And now she's in the White House and, you know, maybe these texts are from before she was in the White House. I don't know. But Mike Johnson's office told Loudermilk to stop going after Liz Cheney. And that is the reason why. I doubt Lester Holt had that as his top story of the evening. So I don't know if you've heard that story or not. I hope you had already. What else? So there were raids in California, farm workers, even before Trump was, supposedly sworn in. And it caused a lot of them to not show up for work anymore. There are a lot of fruits and vegetables in California that have not been picked. And prices of groceries are going up. And also, millions of hens have either died or had to be destroyed because of the bird flu. Eggs in the last week since Trump became president apparently have gone up 37%. I thought everyone voted for him to lower the price of eggs and lower inflation and lower the price of groceries. Well, that was a bad call, wasn't it? He pardoned all the J6 people. That was something that everyone said he wasn't going to do it. And then even J.D. Vance said, well, he's not going to pardon the violent ones. At least 600 violent ones out of the 1,500. 600 of them attacked cops. At least 600 violent ones out of the 1,500. 600 of them attacked cops. Something like 78 of them used deadly weapons to attack people. They were all pardoned. All of them were pardoned. The leaders of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers were let out of prison. And they're saying, oh, maybe Trump can't do revenge, basically. But we can. We can do it. That happened. Oh, one of the guys, and I'm sure probably more, have similar crimes. Andrew Grisby was pardoned. He's a child predator. But now he's out of jail. At least one guy already got arrested for illegal weapons, purchasing or something. Got let out of jail and within like 2 days was thrown back in jail. And there may be more that has happened to. Trump spoke at Davos. DAVOS. It's an acronym for something. I don't know. It has something to do with international finances and things like that. And he just absolutely made a fool out of himself, saying that he was going to indeed try and take over Greenland and make Canada the 51st state, and everyone's laughing at him. That's something that I would say even I thought maybe he would just forget about, and people around him would say, okay, yeah, sir, we're going to stop talking about making Canada the 51st state now that you're actually president, because that just makes us all look like idiots. But nope, he goes on. he made some phone calls that we're just finding out about. So again, the Trump administration is not reporting what's going on. We're having to find news from other countries. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'm going to tell you about those phone calls, and I'm going to tell you about something else Trump said into a microphone while I was recording this show last week, only 1 week ago, which was still one day before he was supposedly sworn in to be our supposed next president. You're listening to A Satellite View. I'm Todd Mikkelson. We'll be right back. Satellite View, a lot of things going on with the podcast. A new website just being finished right now, and you can sign up to be on our email list so that you'll get information from me and the podcast as to new episodes coming out and things like that. We're adding part of my blog to the website, so lots going on. I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to spending this next year with you, trying to help you keep sane throughout this chaos. Let's just get right back into it. Republicans are trying to pass a bill that says gender is set at conception, which is not biologically true. So they don't even know how that works, which makes sense, right? One more thing before we get to these phone calls that I told you about before the break. Friday night, Trump thinks that he fired something like 17 inspectors general because he doesn't want anyone inspecting anything he does, of course. Now, inspectors general are refusing to vacate their posts, citing Trump's firings as illegal. And this is very small writing, but the chairperson for the Council of Inspectors General on Integrity and Efficiency has sent a letter to Trump telling him that this is illegal and he can't do it. And it's going to go to court, and it's, I don't know. He and everyone around him don't seem to know anything about how government works, or I guess sex, because they think the moment an egg is conception happens, where do I need to explain it to you? No, you know how it works. Gender is not yet there. Gender's not determined by biology at conception. The phone calls. He made phone calls to Denmark. So this again is small writing. Let me try and read it. Donald Trump insisted he was serious in his determination to take over Greenland in a fiery telephone call with Denmark's prime minister. This is according to senior European officials, because American officials aren't talking about it. The U.S. president spoke with Mette Frederiksen. I think it's Mette, M-E-T-T-E, Frederiksen, who is a woman, the Danish premier. He talked for 45 minutes last week. The White House has not commented on the call, but Frederiksen said she had emphasized that the vast Arctic island was not for sale. 5 current and foreign senior European officials briefed on the call said the conversation had gone very badly. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but he was yelling and screaming at people, including the prime minister, the premier of Denmark. Many European officials had hoped his comments about seeking control of Greenland for national security reasons were a negotiating ploy to gain more influence over the NATO territory, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to read, but he did get on the phone with them. He's apparently planning on getting on the phone with the UK, and somebody was asking former prime ministers of the UK about how phone calls with Trump went, and they just said, oh, we laughed our asses off. we'd hang up the phone and we would just cry laughing. The whole world knows Trump's an idiot. Here's another thing. Both in Mexico and Colombia, Trump tried to send an airplane full of deported migrants. These flights that he's putting people on, there was one flight that cost $852,000 to get it all arranged. And they were trying to deport 80 migrants at a time. To compare, flights directly chartered by Immigration and Customs Enforcement when they deport people lawfully, like what Biden did, those flights cost $8,500. So 100 times more. Is that right? Am I doing the math right? I don't know. You can spot me. But he tried to send airplanes to Mexico. Were not accepted. They had to turn around in mid-flight. Same thing happened in Colombia. So then Trump put immediately, he thinks, a 25% tariff on everything coming from Colombia. So your coffee prices are going to go up and other prices are going to start going up. He said after a certain period of time, I'm not sure, a short period of time, maybe a week, he said he's going to raise it to 50%. And the reason he's going to do this is because he's a fucking idiot. Now, I want to talk about two different things having to do with the Republicans just going way too far. Now, of course, everything I've talked about on this show is proof that they've just gone too far. They are arresting people without warrants. They're in Chicago today. I don't know if riots are going to break out because the governor of Illinois has vowed to not let this happen. And that rockhead, whatever idiot guy, I can't remember his name, and I block it out of my mind because it's mentally traumatic. The guy who sounds like he's got marbles in his mouth when he talks, and he is the border czar. He apparently is in Chicago today, so we'll see what happens. Now, talking about what's going on while this show is being recorded, this is a moment that happened while I was recording. Last Sunday was the 19th of January, the day before inauguration. But the inauguration had already been sort of canceled. They tore down the jumbotrons. Or you wonder, like, the mainstream media, they weren't even really set up to cover it outside. It wasn't canceled until Friday. So they said they're going to do it in the rotunda. They're not canceling it. They're going to do it in the rotunda. They said because of the weather, because it was too cold, even though it was warmer than many, many previous inaugurations. So everyone knows it wasn't because of the weather. Then people think, well, it was because of the turnout and Trump was going to be embarrassed. Okay. And Trump he's not the one making those decisions, I'm pretty sure. So it was really weird what happened on Monday, the 20th. Now I'm talking about Sunday, the 19th, while the hour I was recording this podcast, Trump had a quote-unquote rally in Washington, D.C., where he said this in talking about Elon Musk. Elon Musk is who he's referring to in this statement he made.
And then he journeyed to Pennsylvania, where he spent like a month and a half campaigning for me in Pennsylvania. And he's a popular guy, and he was very effective. And he knows those computers better than anybody, all those computers, those vote-counting computers. And we ended up winning Pennsylvania like in a landslide, so it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So thank you to Elon.
What was that? Remember how I said last summer, why was Trump saying, I don't need your vote. We have enough votes. We're going to have enough votes. Elon Musk said, I can take over the systems of Starlink by just a little code that I have. I can take control of it at any time. And then Trump here now saying that Elon Musk knows all about the computers, the vote-counting machines. People have speculated that Starlink was engaged to change votes. People have been doing studies, especially in Nevada, and they find that once it goes up to a certain amount of votes for Kamala Harris, it starts switching Kamala Harris votes to Trump. Now, I know this is what the Republicans said happened in 2020. Their accusations are usually confessions. Now, I don't know if that happened. I don't think Starlink was a part of 2020. I don't think Elon Musk was a part of 2020. Joe Biden won in 2020. So whatever they did in 2020, which is what I'm going to talk about next, didn't work. Now, here are some numbers. I'm going to try and get you to follow this. There's a guy named Greg Palast, and he, for decades, has been studying elections, and he has been trying to report on them. He's a real numbers guy. He has done statistics on elections in other countries for years and years and years. And he has been warning us here in the United States for years and years and years about how the Republicans cheat. They throw out votes. They hide votes. They purge people from the voter rolls. They do all these types of things. And Greg Palast has been reporting on this for forever. He just a few days ago finally got all the numbers from the Elections Assistance Commission. This is what he does. He waits for all of the numbers. He gets all, everybody who was purged, he has their name and address. He's got all this information. And he just got the final numbers back. And this election, 2024, there were 4,776,706 purged wrongly. Okay? He has gone through all of this data and had a lot of other people go through the data along with him. So we're just going to say more than 4,700,000 people purged wrongly. 198,000 in Georgia alone. In Wisconsin, they were from black people in Milwaukee and students in Madison, where their big college is. Mostly female students, young women. They did a deep dive in Georgia and Wisconsin, and that's what they found out. A brand new thing that the Republicans got going for this first time it was used was in 2024. Vigilante voter challenge. We got a neighbor across the street. I haven't told him about this podcast. It would be hilarious if he found out about it and watched it or listened to it. But he's a Republican. He, I actually haven't talked to him since Trump became president in 2017 because it's just like we can't joke about this anymore. You calling me a liberal or whatever he called me, and me explaining how things work to him. We just can't do this anymore. Anyway, so vigilante voter challenge. I could say I know that he isn't registered to vote here. You got to throw his vote out, and they throw it out. Just a regular citizen can make up whatever they want to about somebody else and have their vote thrown out. That's vigilante voter challenge. During the mail-in season, 317,000 vigilante voter challenges happened before August. So this is in the first couple weeks of mail-in voting. 200,000 vigilante voter challenges in Georgia alone by Election Day. 2.12 million mail-in votes rejected because of vigilante voter challenges. Just that one thing threw out more than 2 million votes. 400% more likely if you're black. He just threw this. We're not even talking about Elon Musk and what Trump said Elon Musk did and what Elon Musk said he did. But just this, if these things wouldn't have happened, she would have won Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. She would have got 286 electoral votes. NPR reported 1 in 7 mail-in ballots were thrown out. So just Republicans throwing votes out was enough to have Trump win. And that's not even talking about the missing. There are a lot of just missing ballots. And then you hear what Donald Trump said. Jasmine Crockett talked about her on this show before. She is an amazing Democratic representative in the House of Representatives. She's from Texas. She gets things done. She's a great voice. She stands up to people there's a lot of fun to watch video of her going after Republicans in committee hearings and stuff on committees that she sits on. She has ordered an investigation of what the hell Donald Trump was talking about. So in 2020, what I just went through with you, that Greg Palast reported on, all of that went on in 2020, but Biden still won. Kamala would have won if these things didn't go on. She might have won even if these things did go on, but there were, like, people are saying anywhere from 3 to 7 million votes are just missing, which makes sense when you realize that everybody was talking about record turnout. We're seeing record turnout in early voting and election day voting. We are seeing record turnout. And then all of a sudden, when the counts were all in, there was like 7 million less people voted than in 2020. So Elon Musk, he hooks up with Donald Trump just in the final months of the campaign. And Trump starts saying, we don't need your vote. We're going to have plenty of votes. Elon Musk saying what he said. They decided that what happened in 2020 didn't do a good enough job. So they needed to do something else, and that's when they took it way too far. Ann Seltzer, I think is her name, the pollster in Iowa, she was right. She wasn't wrong. She was right. I was right. You were right. She did win. I don't know what's going to happen about that. And of course, the Republicans set it up so that we're not allowed to say that because they say it about 2020 and we tell them that they're full of crap. Well, it makes a difference when you're telling the truth and when you're lying. The good takeaways from this is that there is an investigation going on that, or at least a demand for an investigation to happen about that. Other good news is the rest of the world has already investigated that, as I'm sure we probably have too, but we haven't talked about it here. If you remember, in Canada, the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians report, that is the report on election interference in Canada. It was due to come out next Friday, January 31st, this coming Friday. They changed it. News on Friday just kind of gets overlooked. They decided to change it. It has to be done and reported on and made public by this Tuesday, the 28th. That report will be coming out within the next 48 hours. Other countries have also said Elon Musk has interfered in our elections. He did the Nazi salute, and then he spoke at the AfD convention in Germany. They are the Nazi party of Germany who's trying to get elected in. Elon Musk is trying to help them. And you probably have heard about Elon Musk doing the Nazi salute last week. Even mainstream media reported on that. Of course, they're saying, oh, you didn't mean it as a Nazi salute. Okay, all right. This is going to be an interesting week. Like I said before, these reports from other countries are coming out. The one in Canada is coming out within the next 48 hours. It's probably going to say Elon Musk interfered in our election. All these other countries doing investigations. The United States as well. Avril Haines' report was delivered by the 20th of December. Go back and listen to the shows from back in those days. My show from back then. Are these reports going to say that Elon Musk interfered in our election in the United States? Are the real vote counts going to be revealed? We got to start working on this stuff that Greg Palast has been working on. So, it's going to be an interesting week. I don't know. I mean, this last week, we didn't know all this stuff that was going to happen. This coming week, I don't know what's going to happen. I just don't know. But the good takeaways, those investigations coming out. Republicans, why are you so mad? Why are you so angry? Why do you seem so scared? Democrats seem very relaxed and jovial almost. Kamala Harris, every time I see her, she's got a smile on her face. She seems pretty relaxed. What is going on? What do they know? Remember to breathe. Remember who you are at all times. Talking to you now, talking just to you. Remember who you are, remember what you are, and stay connected and tuned in to that. When you go deep down inside, what do you think is going on here? You can trust that feeling. I woke up early in the morning after Election Day and realized something is not right about this. Not trying to get false hopes up or anything like that. But Trump is demonstrating how horrific he is and wants to be. He is talking, in his mind at least, seriously about trying to take over Greenland and Canada with military force. He's scaring the crap out of it, an awful lot of Americans, and I do feel sincerely horrible for those people. But in him demonstrating that he's not kidding when he says these absolutely ridiculous, absurd things, he's losing a lot of support. I don't know about Republican elected officials, but we're seeing a lot of reports about Trump voters wishing they didn't vote for him, seeing like, wow, that was a mistake. He hasn't done the good things he says he's going to do. He's only doing the bad things he says he's going to do. And they're not working. A lot of these executive orders are going to be overturned at some point because they're not legal. So I don't know what the future brings, but let's stick together and keep each other sane through this chaos. That's why I'm telling you, remember to breathe. If you're feeling overwhelmed, just stop. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. And remember who you are. We got to do all we can do, and we can't do any more than that. I'm trying to help keep people sane. I'm trying and inform people about things they're not hearing of in the real news. I hope that I brought you some information that you hadn't heard, and I hope that you take a little bit of solace in some of these things. I still have a lot of hope. I still feel optimistic. You can call me crazy or stupid, but that's how I feel. Remember how you feel. Trust how you feel. I don't want to get too philosophical. And I was going to do a Casey Kasem's countdown of the least fortunate people in the country. Maybe we'll do that next week, and I'll explain then what I mean by fortune, the 3 top people who have the least amount of fortune in their lives. Casey Kasem countdown next week. Thanks so much for listening. We'll speak at you in a
week. You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mikkelson. Go to toddmikkelson.com for links and more information.